I think it's a lot more fun in life when you get a chance to hang out with other people that are championing their own life and going for it. We've launched a Facebook group called Donnie Success Champions Group. Man, come hang out with us. Every day we are having uplifting, badass conversations that are just, helping people go further in their life. So if you want to, go to Facebook, come hang out, Donnie Success Champions Group. We'll be glad to see you. All right, guys, going to be a freaking killer episode. I've been looking forward to this one. Got a new buddy coming on the show. I think we met through LinkedIn, and we've had a few fun chats. But I'm bringing Jonathan Mitchell, and this should be a really, really good chat. But really good fat, that should be fun.
That's good too.
I'm Donnie Boivin. This is Donnie Success Champions. Jonathan, my friend, welcome to the show, brother. Please tell us your story.
What up, Donnie boy? My story. Oh, goodness gracious. You want me to start from exiting the womb, or what point do you want?
Well, I mean, we can go back that far, but this is not that long of a show. So,
well, first, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I mean, I've actually, in preparation for this, I've listened to a couple of shows. Love what you're about, love what you do, and just want to say first off, thank you. That's awesome.
Oh, my honor, brother. Thanks for this. Has been a lot of fun. It's been a hell of a journey.
Yeah, it's been awesome. So, quick story about me. So, currently, I am getting my MBA at the University of Utah. Been in sales training and in my role as far as my professional world. On the fun side, I've been doing music. I'm a musician. I write music for a long, long time. It's kind of my outlet. I've had music on Fox Sports and Pac-12 and a bunch of other football networks. Just fun. And I do a lot of coaching stuff, a lot of training, both with emotional development and then sales training, that kind of material. And then besides that, I love racquetball. I love anything in the mud, whether it's jeeping or mud football or
long walks on the beach.
Yeah. Mud ping pong. I don't care what it is. It's something with mud. So it's great.
Oh, dude, so this is going to be fun. So I spent last 8 years as a national sales trainer as well. So this could be
nice.
A really, really fun conversation.
There you go.
So how does a big burly dude that's in the mud get into music?
I'm so burly.
Come on, man.
I'd say you're burly. I mean, I gotta get my beard out so I look more burly like you.
Please, brother, come on.
Well, okay. Long story short, I grew up with 4 sisters. I'm the only boy, and so when I was younger, I loved music, but I didn't want to sing because all my sisters sang, and I thought in my 10-year-old brain it was a girly thing to sing. So I didn't sing, but we had to do something musical besides sports. So my mom was like, "You got to pick something musical, and it can't be drums," which is what I wanted to do. So,
well, what said, that phrase? What's the guy that hangs out with the musicians? He's called a drummer.
That's right. Yeah, don't tell my drummer that, but yeah. But anyway, so I grew up playing trumpet because I had to pick something. I didn't want to do piano, so trumpet was the non-loud thing that my mom wishes I never did. But did that forever, studied jazz and classical. I was doing high school and all that kind of stuff. And then in college, or actually I should say in high school is when I started to notice that girls kind of liked when I sang. So I was like, aha! So, so I started actually being okay. And then on the other side of it, my dad, okay, we're going to get some crazy stories here. So when I was a kid, my mom is a super conservative, angelic, amazing woman, right? But we could listen to limited things for music. So I could only listen to like Neil Diamond, ABBA, Safety Kids, and some other, I can't remember what else, like probably.
You just lost a whole lot of cool points with half my audience.
Wait, the story's not done.
Oh, okay.
The story's not done. So we're talking about when I was a small kid, right? Because
my
mom was like, "You are not listening to anything except these things." So when I got to be about 10 to 12, my dad took me into his. We had this media room with TV and record player and old 8 tracks, that kind of stuff. And he brought out this box of records. He said, "Okay, I'm going to show you what music is like." So he brought out AC/DC and Led Zeppelin and Boston and Creedence Clearwater Revival and all these amazing records. And he still has these records. I keep asking him, "Please, the only thing I want is your record collection." But he played me all these songs, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" And then he's like, "These are guys singing, so it's okay if you sing." So I was like, "Oh yeah, I know." Anyway, so in college, I started to, when I was 13, my dad's oldest brother killed himself. And then about a year after that, both my mom's parents died one was from cancer and the other was from heart attack. And so our family went through a lot of stuff when I was younger. And I found music to be one of the outlets, both playing it and then starting to sing a little bit and kind of get to use it as an outlet. So besides the physical ability of using football to pound people, the emotional part of it was using music to kind of get my emotions out in a healthy way. So that's where it started. And then I started to get more into coaching when I was in college, and have been doing coaching now for 15 plus years, just working with people one-on-one, because it's, as you know, it's very rewarding to be able to help someone get past blocks or walls or whatever is going on to actually create an impact in their lives in real time.
Oh, yeah.
And so as I was doing coaching, I also started to do music because I didn't like hearing music that was, I felt was either about drugs or sex, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but when there's no other music content out there, because again, I grew up with all these amazing bands like Boston and Creedence Clearwater Revival, and all these people had messages and themes that were bigger than just sex and drugs. You know what I mean? So I wanted to start writing music that inspired people, that it lifted them up and made them awesome, but also wasn't corny, hi-ho Disney stuff, So
Nothing, anything wrong with that.
nothing to say anything wrong with that, but I just didn't want to do that. So
Dude, if you break out with Let It Go right now, this show is over.
No, I will not. I refuse to sing that song. I'm in a corporate band, and we got asked to sing that song. I'm like, no, I'm not singing that song. Anyways,
No,
so
that's awesome.
yeah, so it's music to me has been a huge outlet. I actually use it with people who aren't even musicians as like a songwriting thing, just to say, just get your feelings out there and let's make a song out of it. So it's and now I lead a southern rock band that I have music all over the place, and it's awesome to be able to go rock out on stage with the band that you click with and have a blast with. It's just so much fun. So
That's
it's a great outlet.
That's awesome. How did you go from music to sales training? That's like a random maneuver that,
Well,
I haven't met a lot of musicians that are like, I'm going to be a sales guy today,
well, music is so I graduated in leadership development and in training from my undergrad. And so my there's like three lives of myself. So there's one, the professional side. It's more, I've been doing sales. My dad owns a tire mechanic shop. So I grew up selling tires and wheels and customizing trucks and old cars, that kind of stuff. And then I eventually started to manage the store, and he left and I would manage the store, and I trained our team. And then it kind of grew from there in my professional world. I used to live in Nashville. I used to do music full time. Loved it. It was such a blast. But as I got older, I realized that I wanted to have actually some money to do something. So I had to do something else besides music. So I still do music, still love it. I actually make more now doing it part-time than I did back then, because I'm smarter now.
Right.
But it's okay. You live and learn, right? But sales training's fun. I just had some opportunities come up to do some training programs and to build it out. Like, I love creating content. I love the coaching thing, whether it's on an emotional health side or if it's like a sales training. Training is just fun. I just love being able to coach and help people.
That's awesome. So are you incorporating any of this, musical ability into what you do? I mean, I think I'd love to go to a cold call class where all of a sudden you just broke out in song in the middle of the class.
We actually did. We did two things. We wrote a song in one of our classes, and then the next time we did this challenge once, actually. I said, I don't care what on a cold call. We said, just for one day, let's just try this something random. Because, on cold calls with sales calls, you hear the same crap all the time. And so I said, sing one of your favorite songs and say, hey, please call me back. And so
I'm curious, did it work?
Oh, well, it got responses, but it didn't. I don't know if ourselves, but people call us back and be like, that was the most funniest thing I've ever heard. Because most of the people we worked with are not singers. So
right.
It was horrific. It was so funny. We had so much fun. So,
oh, that's awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome. Wow. I can go so many places with that, but
there's a lot of cool stuff you can do, but
you
have to kind of,
you grew up, in a cool musical family. I mean, I've got the most family in the world. And, you know, if you've ever heard Scuttle off The Little Mermaid, that's my singing ability. So we'll just never bring that to the stage.
Right. That's awesome.
You know, what was it like growing up in such a cool musical background kind of influenced family? I mean, my old man always told us growing up that, you know, you had to be a part of something, and usually it meant some sort of sports. And I was never really a big sports guy, but I learned the team side of things. But I love the fact that they, you know, told you to get in music. How much do you think that's, I mean, obviously you're singing and stuff, but how much did that impact your mental game and everything else on your journey growing up in that kind of a household?
You know, I think it's helped quite a bit, because I feel like there's very few people who can balance the left and right brain type people, because there's some people who are so creative, they don't know how to communicate with the left brain, business, sales, numbers, that kind of thing. And so having both backgrounds of having the sales business side and then having the creative side, like I get creatives. I totally get it, because I have to tap into that side of myself to write music, right? But then on the business side, like I used to do sales training for musicians, specifically saying this is how you do business as a musician. Because most musicians have no idea what the fuck to do about business. They just know music and they don't know anything else. And it's funny because there's a lot of times where chiropractors and dentists and all these different places that are really good at what they do, but they suck at business. Right. So they're very creative, they're very good, they're very, very intuitive, but they just are not very good. And so it was amazing to me to see how many people needed just basic, simple help with business stuff. So in short, it's helped just because I'm able to use that myself and then be able to communicate with those on both sides. Right. So
yeah, and here's what's awesome about it. So I have a buddy named Cody Jinks. He's in, you know, big.
Oh yeah.
We bartended together for a number of years
Nice.
at the White Elephant Saloon in Fort Worth, Texas. You know, and Cody's got a really cool story. I mean, he played big out in California, had a rock band out there, then came home, played a little bit, trying to figure himself out, and then, you know, found a way into country music. And I still remember the first time he sat on a bar stool and sang, you know, at a, you know, local place. But you know, people have watched his journey and they're like, dude, he's an overnight success. And I'm like, fuck you, buddy. That guy has been busting his ass in every dive bar for the last 10 to 12 years, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Grinding it out. When you're coaching these singers and these chiropractors and everything else, I mean, how much is it you walking them through, man, that every day is a learning process, and, you know, this is just the shit you got to go through to become who you need to become?
Yeah. I think now, especially because of social media, it's been such a blessing but a curse at the same time, because everyone sees that overnight success thing. I don't even think I mean, unless you're following someone pretty dramatically, but most people you follow, you don't follow them until they're big anyways. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of like Gary Vaynerchuk. Love that guy. Been following him for a long time. He's getting bigger and bigger, but I didn't follow him back when he was doing the wine library, and he did that for a year, every single day. No one gave a rat's ass about him before that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And now he's like this big major social media speaking everywhere with Tony Robbins. It's awesome. Like, I love seeing the success, but he had to work his butt off for a long time before he had any success, you know? And so it's just trying to make sure people know that. It's like, it's the daily things that you do that create that success that eventually will create this mountain that cannot be denied. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's also knowing what that success means, because, like, to me, 10 years ago, I would think, which I would still love to go tour, but it's not as important to me now as it was before I actually toured. Not that touring's bad. Touring's a blast, but I like being home. I like being around my family. I have some great things happening here. There's some really cool stuff, and being on the road would be fun, but it'd be tough at the same time at the moment. Yeah. But I'm having a lot more success with, like, placements with music, and that to me is success, because I'm doing what I want to do with music. I'm making money. I'm doing that kind of stuff. And so I think it's knowing what success means to you and not letting someone else's success saying, if I don't make that person success, then I'm not successful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no.
Because you can't compare what someone else is doing to yourself. I mean, if you want something like unto it, awesome. Then you got to follow what they're doing, but you can't let what they're happening with their lives be what, changes what you think you should do with your own. You know?
Yeah, it's interesting for me is I love telling people, I only jumped out of my own and started my own business a little over a year ago. And, up until that point, I worked for a lot of other people, and, I made a lot of people a lot of damn money over the years and just got tired of it. And I love telling everybody that I didn't understand what I was made of until I started my own company, because
Right.
I spent my entire ride, with an employee mindset, and it's a big leap going from the employee to business owner,
Right.
because now it's all on you. And it's very, very interesting to put you in a different perspective. As you're working with these guys, how hard is it for somebody, similar to me? They've gone to school maybe to be a chiropractor or be a dentist or
Whatever.
everything else.
Yeah.
And now they jumped out on their own and are trying to figure out how to be a business owner. How do you teach that? Because, I want to know, because I'm still learning shit.
Right. Most people are super humble. They're like you. They're hungry for success. They want to know what's going on. A lot of it's just I'd say half is skills and the other half is mindset. It's getting out of the place of saying, I have to wait for somebody to tell me what to do. That's the biggest thing with the employee, is that there's some job description. There's some semblance of systems and stuff. You can't do that as a business. You have to create everything,
Right.
So it takes a lot of obviously creativity, but it also takes like watching the success of others and seeing what have they done successful. Is that something I even want? And if it is, how can I implement that into my own life? I always believe in following seeds of success, whatever that is, wherever that is. If you can find it, follow it, and you will have the results you're looking for.
Yeah,
So
I always say that's, there's two ways to look at life. You're either following somebody who's already carved the trail, or you're carving your own path. Choose.
right, you're doing the other one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me that you've got such a diverse background between the music, the sales,
I do.
coaching. That's a lot of shit on your plate, man.
It's a lot, yeah.
I'm just looking at it being a podcaster, a speaker, and a coach. Those are three things, but they all kind of fit in the same genre. How are you managing all this shit?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Music is at a point where it's kind of on a maintenance level. So like where I have a Sundance Film Festival's coming up in 3 weeks. And so we just got booked for that. Like I'm at a point with my band and in my music that I don't have to do anything. I just show up and go do my thing. Because I've done it for 15 years. I just go and enjoy it. It's fun. Right. So it doesn't take any energy off me. In fact, it produces energy. Coaching I've done for a long time too. It's just been something where I don't try to stress about stuff anymore. I used to stress out about things a lot more. Like I have to do this, I have to do that. And I'm kind of like, just go and let things, not that you let things happen to you, but I have to allow and be in the flow more often than trying to force everything to work the way I think it should be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So, and I just follow what I feel. So like, I'm actually in a point right now, I'm getting my MBA in marketing. So I want to go into entrepreneurship marketing, and like the idea of having the skills and abilities to take any product or system or service or whatever and market it to be successful is exciting. I haven't done that in the past, but it's what I'm learning. So I feel like it's somewhere that I'm leading into. So I try to follow what I'm feeling. It's not what I've done in the past, but it's something that I'm excited about for the future.
Wanted to jump in here and take a second to let our sponsors tell you a little bit about what they do. Guys, do me a favor and check them out. They're really helping this show become what it's becoming.
Support for this podcast comes from Point Blank Safety Services and Blue Family Fund. Point Blank Safety Services does safety differently. We know everyone is on a journey, and we want to make sure you get where you're going safely. Professional, trained, ready. There's really no comparison. Here's why hiring Point Blank Safety for your next project will make all the difference and save you huge amounts of stress and hassle. Point Blank Safety Services provides certified, uniformed police officers for a full suite of armed guard services. Don't leave the safety of your project to chance. If you're ready to make sure safety truly comes first for your next project, then visit us at pointblanksafety.com. Blue Family Fund, helping dependents of law enforcement families on their journeys. Blue Family Fund is a nonprofit that raises funds and offers financial support through higher education scholarships for dependents of law enforcement officers and by providing financial assistance for families of fallen law enforcement officers. Every dollar donated will go to the families of police officers, either through scholarships to dependents of police officers or as aid to fallen officers' families. Visit us at bluefamilyfund.com.
And now back to the show. Well, it does,
So,
but it's also really interesting with me because I'm a firm believer the school of hard knocks is the best teacher in the damn world,
yeah.
and it's interesting. What made you decide to go through the MBA versus just going to get your teeth kicked in and figuring it out and then teaching it?
Well, it's like a coach. I mean, someone could have that same argument about working with a life coach. Like, well, how come I just don't learn it to myself? I'm like, if you want to spend 2 years doing that, cool. But if you want to spend 3 months doing it with me, it's up to you. What do you want to do?
Right.
So for me, I mean, half the reason, I'll be honest with you, half the reason why I'm doing this is for the networking ability that I have at the school. I would not have anywhere else. Like, I could have done my online MBA if I wanted to. But I was like, I want to meet people. I want to be in the mix of it, which is half the reason why I do an MBA anyways. The other half is
I would argue that it's 90% of the reason, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, at least that. So, I mean, that's the biggest reason. And then secondly, just the content alone. It's funny sitting through it because I've been through a lot of programs through other people, like other life coaches and author trainings and all this stuff. It's so interesting to see how similar but yet different it is. I'm thinking to myself, I wonder how I could take some of this MBA stuff and make it in its own form. So it's giving me a lot of ideas because formal schooling is restricted by a lot of things, but they also have access to things that other trainings don't, right?
True.
But the other side of it is that the access they have to the programs they have. There's this huge entrepreneurship launching pad they have, which is awesome. There's just a lot of resources here in this particular program that I like a lot, or else I never would have done it.
That's
So
awesome. That's awesome.
for me, it's exciting. And if it feels good for me, then I follow it. If it doesn't feel good, I'm out.
Right.
So,
No, I'm 100% the same way. And I'm usually a pretty gut decision. And I learned that really, really quick is dude, if it sucks, I'm gone quickly. But, so let's get a little tactical just because we both have a similar background. Talk to me about sales training and, what are some of the things a small business owner, could you drop, chiropractors, dentists, all these smaller business guys, what are some of the things that they can do to get out of being the tactician and, E-Myth style and working all the mechanics to get their ass out and start selling?
Is that what you? Can I ask you first? Is that what you coach on in your practice? Is that
for me, I'm more of the mindset guy, but I do know that people want the tactics before the mindset, even though it works the other way around.
Yes, it does. Yeah, that's what's funny is that people don't get that the mindset is the most important thing, and then everything else follows.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm of the school of go get punched in the face and screw it up, right? And then come back and then let's tweak it because I would rather have the guy that wants to go get beat up on a sales call versus the guy who wants to think about going to get beat up.
Right.
Yep. Right. Yep. So I mean, walk me through what's your philosophy on the sales side of things, because I love learning new things.
Well, I agree with you. I hate role plays. I hate them with a passion. I will not do them. I despise them totally. I'd rather have someone get on a call and fail, blow up every conversation for a whole day long, and then talk about it. Right.
Right.
I want real-time experience because to me, role plays is just pretending and it's just not real. You can't do anything with a role play. Right.
True.
So I'm with you. I like the same mindset. I think you do learn a lot from actually doing it yourself. But at the same time, being a trainer, I know from creating systems and doing that kind of stuff, there's a lot of things I have created and implemented inside where I work with people now and then other places that it would have taken the company and or the team, again, a year or two to figure all this stuff out. But I can come in and say, okay, fail, but now let's try this system. And this is why you see it works because of this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, as an example, it's having like, for me in sales especially, it's finding, whether it's a product or service, it's finding the reasons why someone would not work with you, right? And then using those reasons why they wouldn't work with you as a reason why to work with you. So as an example, it's just like saying, like when I was at Franklin Covey, we'd work with C-suite Fortune 500 companies on consulting as an example. And most of these guys knew somewhat who we were, but they didn't know all the details and they weren't really motivated on working with us. So we had to create that need. So it's more about the very first thing we do is just go into there. And once we establish the relationship with them, and we did that by letting them come to an event for free to experience the content. And then we'd go in and say, okay, what are you experiencing in your culture, in your leadership? Like what's happening? And focus it totally on them. And more of a diagnostic conversation, right?
Right.
To where you find out what's going on, what's going right, what's going wrong, and then finding out what would be most effective for them to implement something new, and then use that as the reason why they work with you. I know that's a classic way. The other sales side is like more like I've worked with retail stores where it's not that high level. It's just like trying to sell $500 to $1,000 worth of products on a one-time sale and it's done. You know,
Right.
those a little bit differently. But to me, the principles are still the same. It's coming in like as an example, tires. My dad owns a tire mechanic shop, right? Tires is depending on the person, because I love talking tires and wheels, but most people out there don't give a shit.
Right.
They're just like, just put some tires on there and
I
let
was
it go.
like tires. I was like, wah wah.
I know everyone's like, check out. They just don't. I love it. Like I love putting on tires. I love making a car look kick ass because the tires were. Anyways, I'm not going to talk about that because I can talk about that forever. Point is that people mostly don't care about their tires and wheels. They don't care. They just want it to work, right? So in such a low level entry, like people are not very passionate about tires, like 90% of the time. I had to find out, okay, what are they looking for? What are the biggest reasons why they're coming into my store to work with them? Because my dad's store was independent. We weren't part of a chain. We had to compete with like Walmart and like Sears at the time and Sam's Club and all these major places. We couldn't compete with their inventory, their prices, all that kind of stuff. So we had to compete with service and what we could give people, right? So as soon as someone walked in, I had to walk myself through the process of saying, what is this person looking for? Like, is it just price? Yes, but no. Like, they want to be treated good. They don't want to work with some moron kid in Walmart who has no idea what the heck they're talking about, right? They want to know that someone's going to be good with their vehicle, going to be safe, it's going to be reliable, price-wise is good. And so once you know those things, you can start asking questions in a way saying, you know, would you rather have this being price? Would you rather have this being quality? Would you rather have this with service? Would you have this? And so you make these comparisons, this disparity. And as you work with people, you can use that disparity to your advantage to say, this is why it's good for you because of this, you know.
Here's what I love about it, because I agree 100% with everything you're saying, which is rare. I usually end up picking a fight with other sales trainers.
I love it.
so this is fun. But, here's what I love about you, and this is 100% truthful, is you're teaching what you went through. And because I often find with coaches and trainers and consultants is they're teaching philosophy. You know, they went through Franklin Covey, they went through some program and that's what they're teaching, but they never actually lived and developed their own stuff. So it's all theory and practice. So I love the fact that, you know, because I guarantee growing up at some point as a kid, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows in the tire sales business, you know?
No, it wasn't. No. We experienced many of what my dad calls robots. So yes, it's not all fun.
I mean, I'm just curious, you know, in high school, old man's got a tire shop, you know?
Right.
How'd that play out? I mean, was there cool points? Did you grow up? Was it small enough town that it was cool, or was it, shit, I got to go work for dad today?
I mean, there were times, I mean, because my dad, you know, growing up, I'll be honest with you, I was very short-sighted. So when I was growing up, I remember thinking to myself, my dad can do better than this. Not that there's, again, anything wrong with running your business and doing whatever, but I felt stuck there. I was just like, I don't want to be here the rest of my life, you know? In fact, let me tell you a story real fast, because this actually goes back to this very same point. So I remember when I was a kid, I started busting tires and sweeping the floors and that kind of stuff when I was 10, right? So my dad's a big believer in if you want to make money, you have to earn it. Right. And so I love that because it taught me work ethic, even though it pissed me off at the time because my friends got allowances and I had to work 5 hours a day for it. But it taught me how to work because now I can work anybody's ass off because it's just programmed, right? Anyway, so the point is, I remember being a kid when I was 10, I was out in the tire bay looking in the office and I saw my dad. And I was thinking to myself, someday I'm going to walk in there and tell my dad to leave and he won't have to worry about the store because I'm going to run it for him, right?
Right.
And I remember, and it was just a fleeting moment. I never thought about it again for years. And then actually right in the middle of college, I was going to school full-time and working full-time. And I was stressed out and I was thinking about the store and I was just in my mind, you know, I had these complaining days like, this is stupid. And I kept being able to listen, bad attitude. And so I go into my dad's shop. This was back in 2004, 5, something like that. And I was at a point where I was running the store. I was doing all the finances and trainings and all the sales and customer service calls and blah, 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 blah. And so I walked in one morning and I was having this bad attitude. And I told my dad, I'm going to get out of here. I'll take care of it today. Don't worry about it. Okay. So he left. And then as I was complaining about that, this flashback came to mind of just saying, remember how you asked to do this one time? Like
Right.
This was your little kid's dream, was to come in here and tell your dad to go relax and play golf so that you can take care of the business. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh my gosh. And ever since then, it totally changed my mind and my mindsets, because I became super grateful that I had the skills and abilities to do that for my dad, because my little 10-year-old self kicked my own 25-year-old self's ass, saying, bro, you wanted this. Like, quit your complaining, suck it up, and just do it. So, and even now, like, I do my dad's social media marketing, and I kind of bring stuff in, and it's nice to know I can affect him, because it's my dad. I love him. You know, I want him to be happy, want to be successful. So it's definitely not what I wanted to do. And I know now, having a family, why he chose to do it, because he could have done a lot of things. He wanted to be a philosophy professor at a university. That's what he wanted to do, you know. But he stayed there because it paid the bills. It took care of 5 crazy kids and his wife, and he wanted to make sure we were okay. His number one priority was us, making sure we're all right, and our family's functional, and he was present and he was there. Where if he went down the path he wanted to, it would have been a struggle in a lot of ways. Even though he was living his dream of being a philosophy professor, it would have been a long path and one that would not have made sense at the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I mean,
so yeah.
I think it's cool because, you know, I think, I don't want to put a blanket statement on it, but a lot of us as we're growing up, you know, we're looking at dad, we're looking at mom, we're looking at what their lifestyle is. And part of it is, fuck, I don't want to be that person, you know, when I'm growing up. And then, you know, same as what you're talking about, is you look back on it and you're like, damn, I learned so much through that time that I didn't even realize that I was learning, you know, going through that. And your old man and mine are a lot alike. Even though my old man didn't own a business, you know, it was, you know, take care of the family first, you know, worry about chasing your dreams some other time. You know, which is a very, very interesting, you know, way to look at it. So now you have a family of yourself, your own, and
no kids yet, but yes, I am married. Yes.
Okay. All right. Yes. So now you've got the experience, like I do, of being an entrepreneur and married, which is proving to be a very dynamic conversation in my household.
Right.
You know, how often are you getting the, honey, can you please put the phone down for 5 seconds and have a conversation?
Right.
You know, but how are you balancing, you know, I looked at some of your social profiles and some of the things, and you're doing some pretty badass, legitimate things that are fun to watch. You know, how are you balancing that family life and, you know, everything you've done and accomplished?
Fortunately for me, my wife is a very, very hard worker as well. And so she needs time to herself to do things. And so we have a relationship where we're very respectful of each other's, I don't want to say alone time, but time we need to get stuff done. Right. Because she teaches at a middle school French, and she also teaches online. So she's working a lot, and she enjoys it. She does it because she likes it, not because she has to, which is fine. Because I keep telling her, like, you can relax, you know, you don't have to do this. Right. Anyway, so we just have a good understanding, saying that, you know, from this point at night, I get home around 4-ish, and she gets home about the same time. And from 4 till 6 or 7 when we eat, the 2 or 3 hours is just for us. So I get to work on website stuff or marketing or my MBA, whatever I need to do for those 2 or 3 hours. And I just focus. And she does the same. We eat around 7 or 8. And then last 2 hours of the night is just for us. We unplug. We don't talk to anybody. It's just for us to connect. Nice. And that's been very helpful, because before, when we first started getting married, or when we first were married, I mean, there'd go weeks where I'd be like, I don't think I've even hugged you for like a week. You know, it's just like, are we married? Or what's going on? It's so weird. But it's not, because you just get busy and things happen and you have projects, and entrepreneurs, as you know, are 24/7. It's not you unplug after 5 o'clock. But I've had to force myself to say, I'm only working at this time, and then I have to unplug. And I found, funny enough, I read this book once that talked about, I can't remember what I think it's called Full Engagement, something like that. Anyways, it talked about the power of resting, and it compared like physical working out and how important it is to rest in that, and also your mind and your job. how important it is to rest. And so I used to be, again, the workaholic in me, like my dad, work every day, 12 to 15 hours a day, all the time, blah. And as I've learned how to work my ass off for the 10 hours or 12 hours I'm working a day from work and whatever else, and then saying, okay, now I'm going to let go and just release, I'm more productive because I'm not as stressed out and burned out. Makes sense? I can prolong my activity.
No, so, and I love it because, we have a rule in my household that it's the 8 o'clock whistle. And, every night when 8 o'clock hits, work's done. Unless you got to put out an absolute fire, everything else turns off. And, that's proved to be very healthy in our relationship. Now, my wife always jokes with me because I'm notorious for going and starting her bath just so I can go work an extra hour. But
that's funny.
But it's been fun, man. Where do you think this journey in ride's taken you? I mean, you've done some cool things. You've had some cool exposures. You're running a successful business. You got an okay band, I mean.
Yeah, it's okay.
Where's this all taking you, man?
That's a very good question. I'll be honest with you. I'm in a weird place where I feel like I'm shifting in a lot of ways, in good ways. Because 10 years ago, I was more concerned about getting a record deal and going on tour and playing music. And now, again, not that it doesn't matter. And if Van Halen asked me to go tour and open for him, I totally would. But because I'm not going to
Van Halen, if you're listening, no.
Yeah. So Eddie, if you don't mind. Anyway, so but at the same time, it's like, professionally speaking, anyways. Well, there's a lot of levels. So I'll talk about personal and professional. So professional, I'm getting to the point where I've done the coaching thing. I've worked with 300 people in a couple of months on one-on-one sessions to groups, that kind of stuff. And it's fun and it's awesome. But I'm getting to the point now where I'm thinking bigger because I'm in Utah, and in Utah, there's tech companies after tech companies after tech companies that are just launching within 10 years. They're selling for billions of dollars and millions of dollars. Like Qualtrics down the road from me is about 30 minutes. They've been up and running since 2004, and they just sold for $3.2 billion, right? So this insane amount, and it's like this simple system. I keep thinking to myself, man, I need to think bigger. I need to think bigger than what I'm thinking. And not that it means I'm going to copy their model, but I want to launch a company that does not require my time one-on-one to work with people. Not that I don't like that, but I don't want to have my time strapped to my income, to leverage what I have. And then two is to create something bigger than myself. Because in the past, when I was younger, I'd have my band was called Johnny K and the Crew. So I had to be there because my presence was there. Now it's just called the Crew, just because I wanted it to be about the band. I don't want it to be about me, right? Same thing with the business. I don't want it to be about, even when I coach, I've been thinking about creating more of a, have you ever heard of the Arbinger Institute? Does that sound familiar?
No.
So it's kind of like Franklin Covey a little bit, but they have a group of people, but when they market books, they market the group, not an individual. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to start something like that, to where I created a brand that was about a group of authors or independent people like yourself. And so the group has the power instead of one person like myself. And again, nothing against Tony Robbins or Gary, but it's very personality driven, and it has an expiration date when they're no longer with us.
Well,
right?
I mean, look at Zig Ziglar.
So, right.
I mean, the Ziglar Corporation is still around, but it is nothing like it was when Zig was in his prime.
Yeah, it's not Ziglar. It's not Zig, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't want to create that. I want to create something lasting and impactful. Hopefully will last beyond me, whether it's my kids or somebody else, So I'm more in vision mode and trying to build that. And personally speaking, my whole goal is just to be enjoying what I'm doing. Because in the past, I would do things that I hated for the money. And now I'm like, if I'm not enjoying this, I don't care how much it pays me. I do not care. It has to have both the money and enjoyment, else I'm not doing it.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I think a lot of people go down that path on their, I don't say they do necessarily things they hate, but they take jobs that they only take because they're, right in front of them. There's no thought process to what skill can this teach me? What can I learn here? It's this is a paycheck, and that's been a huge thing I'm harping on, trying to talk to these younger kids coming up. I'm like, dude, don't go get a job to get a job. Go get a job to freaking learn something. Learn a skill set, that you haven't, learned in the past. So where do people find your music? Where do they find you? if they want to make fun of you as much as I have, how do they get in touch?
Want to make fun of my safety kids background?
Yes. And you just said that again out loud.
I know.
Only 100,000 people hear it. No big deal.
It's fine. No judgment. Just so you know, I love Led Zeppelin. Still judge me. Oh my gosh,
Nirvana, not ABBA.
That's right. Yeah, is it bad that I like ABBA? Is that bad? Can I confess that?
I mean, next you're going to go Celine Dion, and you're just going to go full circle.
No, it's going too far. No. I'll go with Pat Benatar. I will not go with Celine. Anyways, okay. So you can go for coaching stuff like with personal development or whatever is going to unleashg.com. That's where my podcast is too. Which, by the way, you and I need to interview you for mine.
That'd be awesome. Love to do it.
That's Unleash G, just the letter G. And then my music is on Crew Tunes, KREWTUNES, crewtunes.com. They can get a bunch of free music if they want, or just write out to me, or just make fun of me on there with you or something. I don't care, whatever.
What's the G stand for in Unleash G?
Unleash greatness.
Oh, I love that, because mine's not so clean, because I'm always talking about unleashing your inner badass. So that's kind of funny.
I like the badass. I like to unleash the badass. I just like someone said unleash like a year or two ago, and I was like, oh, I love that word unleash. It's just so cool. And then all of a sudden everyone starts using it. I'm like, oh crap, now I'm part of the everyone else doing it, but that's okay. I love it.
Yeah, cool. My coach is the one that got me to use the word unleash, because I've had so many coaches in my ride, because I'm just a firm believer. If you're going to be a coach, you better have a freaking coach, or you just don't believe in coaching, And we were going through as I was launching my business, and he's like, dude, what do you want to talk about? I said, dude, I just want to be me. Me is, I'm a Marine. I'm a little foul-mouthed. I'm a rough around the edges. I just want to be me. He's like, so don't you tell everybody to be a badass? I'm like, you just can't tell people to be a badass. He goes, well, a gal named Jen Sincero wrote a book that's called You Are a Badass, and she's doing okay, I'm like, there's got to be something more to it. He's like, well, what do you want people to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I just want them to freaking go for it. Get out of their own damn way and go. And he's like, well, tell them to unleash. I'm like, unleash what? He's like, unleash their inner badass. I'm like, okay, there it is.
I love that.
Yeah, so it's fun.
That's awesome.
So it's fun.
I know you're a Marine. That's way cool.
Yeah. 90. But usually you figure out somebody's a Marine because they tell you in the first 5 minutes. So
Right. That's true. Most people do. Hey, much respect to you, bro. I have several family members, and a good close cousin of mine who's a Marine. So
no, that's awesome.
Respect.
That's awesome. So, well, brother, I got to tell you, man, this has been a lot of fun. It's been fun getting to know you, having you on the show, and sharing your story with everybody. I've really enjoyed this.
No, you too, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So here's how I like to wrap up every show. And just so you know, I stumped some people with this, so get ready.
I'm ready. Give it to me.
If you were going to leave the champions that listen to this show, the people, they're small business owners, entrepreneurs. I get a ton of veterans, people in 78 countries right now that are listening to this show. If you were to leave them with a phrase, a quote, a mantra, a saying, something they can take with them on their journey, especially if they're stacked up against it and going through it, what would be that that phrase, quote, or mantra that you would say? Remember this.
Probably one of my favorite quotes. Let's see if I can remember how to say it right. Let's make sure I can say it right. I think it's St. Bernard Shaw. And he says, some people see the things the way they are and ask why, but I see the things that can be and ask why not. Oh. So I've loved that quote ever since, because I love thinking out of the box, thinking that you can do something different, never letting anyone's belief systems that are holding them back hold you back. Like, blow yourself up, do something that stretches you, go beyond it and ask why not. Why can I not do this? Why can I not be the guy who has a company that sells for $3.1 billion? Why not? Why can't I do that? There's no reason.
Right.
So be willing to believe in the why not. Why not?
Dude, that's awesome, man. Jonathan, I really tell you, man, seriously fun having you on the show, man. Thanks.
You too, bro. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. If you need content for your company and you're struggling to figure out what should I put out there, how should I put it out there, or what can I do to make my company get more exposure on social media, go check out successchampions.us. Because of the podcast boom, several people are really looking in to launch their own podcasts, their own shows, so they can get their own message out there. Well, why don't you come hang out with us? We've got a Facebook group called So You Want a Podcast. And, just go to Facebook, type in you want to podcast, and come hang out with a bunch of us as I teach everything that I've learned on my journey to running a successful, profitable show. So check us out. So You Want a Podcast. Looking forward to seeing you there.